White House issues statement as U.S. eyes third World Cup in 44 years. The U.S. are currently hosting the 2026 World Cup, having previously hosted in 1994. The U.S. could be set to host the 2038 FIFA World Cup, despite already hosting 2 tournaments in the last 32 years. Despite football, or soccer as it is known in the U.S., reportedly being just the 3rd most popular sport in the U.S. behind American football and basketball, the nation is considering bidding for the hosting rights to a 3rd World Cup in just 44 years. The U.S. first hosted FIFA's premier tournament in 1994 before serving as co-hosts with Mexico and Canada for the ongoing 2026 World Cup. While 104 matches will take place across these countries, 78 of them will be held in the U.S., including the final. The hosts of the next 2 World Cups in 2030 and 2034 have already been confirmed, with Spain, Morocco, and Portugal set to host the next edition, although the opening 3 matches will be played in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay to mark the competition's 100th anniversary. Saudi Arabia will host just the 2nd ever Arab World Cup in 2034, after Qatar played host to the 2022 tournament. According to the executive director of the White House's World Cup Task Force, Andrew Giuliani, the U.S. is considering making a bid for the 2038 World Cup. If the bid is successful, the U.S. would host its 3rd World Cup in 44 years. Meanwhile, several so-called traditional footballing nations, such as England, have not hosted a World Cup since 1966. 3-time finalists and European giants the Netherlands have also never hosted the World Cup, despite their rich footballing history. Giuliani claimed that he had spoken to U.S. President Donald Trump before saying the U.S. is open to hosting the 2038 tournament. He told the Press Association, "This is what I've spoken about with President Trump, with so many of our cabinet secretaries. I think there's no better country that's positioned to host a World Cup than the United States, and I think we're seeing that on social media. I think we're seeing that with all the fans that may be interacting with the U.S. for the first time, or the first time in a long time, that the U.S. truly is extremely welcoming, that we have such incredible infrastructure. We have the stadiums built, so for the U.S., compared to other host nations where it costs tens and tens of billions of dollars, it costs us a couple of billion. When you think that this World Cup may at some point expand to 64 teams, I think the United States can handle it. Look, let me make sure we get through this World Cup on July 19 before we make our pitch for 2038 or other ones. But there'd be nothing more gratifying as somebody who went to a couple of World Cup matches as an 8-year-old in 1994 to be able to see this come back to the United States again in the coming decades. Which nations have hosted the World Cup? 1930, Uruguay. 1934, Italy. 1938, France. 1950, Brazil. 1954, Switzerland. 1958, Sweden. 1962, Chile. 1960, England. 1970, Mexico. 1974, West Germany. 1978, Argentina. 1982, Spain. 1986, Mexico. 1990, Italy. 1994, United States. 1998, France. 2002, South Korea and Japan. 2006, Germany. 2010, South Africa. 2014, Brazil. 2018, Russia. 2022, Qatar. 2026, Canada, Mexico, and United States. 2030, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. 2034, Saudi Arabia.